Next group is the Independent Group, Deputy Catherine Connolly and Deputy Marion Harkin, 3 minutes 45 seconds each. Thank you.
Minister, I welcome the clarification given to Deputy Shartall that families will have input into the terms of reference. So that's on the Dáil record. I welcome that. In relation to the report carried out by the Boston Group, they said that the formal adverse event reporting, we need to increase its use. Was it used here effectively in time, given that in July and September 22 there were 2 serious post-operative surgical incidents, and then in September, October, November? When was the adverse event reporting used?
Thanks, there was an adverse event reported in July, and there was an adverse event reported, I believe it was September. Let me double check.
No, just when was the formal adverse event reporting used?
When was the
when was
the serious incident review kicked off? I believe it was kicked off in July, right? Yeah, it was kicked off as soon as the serious incident was notified.
Thank you. In relation to the Crumlin report, which I welcome you're going to publish on Thursday, was that following a similar event, or how did that happen, that report? Just to clarify that briefly.
My advice is that Crumlin themselves decided to look at their own caseload on the basis that Temple Street had done theirs. The advice I have is that it was not kicked off by an adverse event or concerns being raised.
In relation to
sorry, Deputy, I beg your pardon for interrupting, but just in case there are families listening whose children were involved in Crumlin, what Crumlin and CHI have said is they did not find concerns through their own review.
You've said that. In relation to the ditch report, there's a reference to a report carried out last year by the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. Have you read that report? Is it available and is it published?
I'd need to check and see what that report is, Deputy.
So you're not aware of it at this point? I'm only aware of it from a ditch report. Was in relation to bullying or allegations of bullying?
My advice is it was a small note on an accreditation visit, and if that's what it is, no, I haven't read that.
Okay. In relation to the implementation plan, Children's Hospital Ireland talk about an implementation plan. They refer us to Appendix 1. I go to Appendix 1, there's no implementation plan. Have you seen that implementation plan? Yes. Thanks. Or no? Or
well, let me just ask, are you referring to an implementation plan for the recommendations from the Boston Review?
I'm referring to what they told us. Go to Appendix 1, implementation plan. There's no implementation.
I just don't know what report you're referring to.
The Children's Hospital Ireland, the third one.
An implementation plan of the Boston recommendations?
I have no idea. They tell me to go to Appendix 1. I go implementation plan, and there's none.
I'm going to take it, Deputy, that it's the Boston Review recommendations.
Have you seen that implementation plan?
Well, I need to see what you're pointing at.
That's the report. Deputy, Appendix. I'm not going to waste my time on it.
I'm trying to answer your question, Deputy.
Okay. Let me just say, I've gone to the trouble of reading them. My staff have gone to the trouble of reading them and downloading them, and I see no implementation plan. So it doesn't give me any confidence.
So, Deputy, the short answer to your question is the implementation plan that I'm aware of refers to implementation of the Boston report recommendations, and yes, those recommendations are being implemented at the moment.
Appendix 1 implementation plan. It is therefore an iterative document and will be updated regularly, not there. So that's just an example of what they're doing. In relation to and I'll finish because I'm coming down to my time, the CHI, I'm really concerned about the board. Are you going to review the composition of the board? Are you going to look to see if minutes are published and whether these issues were ever raised at the level of the board of the CHI?
Thanks, Deputy. Yes, I know the board has been involved. The external review in the Springs, for example, I'm advised is reporting into the board. I think for another day, there is a broader conversation about voluntary hospitals to be had and the level of control that the state has for hospitals that it fully funds.